everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Expo podcast series. Of course, Fantasy Football Expo is powered by the Fantasy Advice Football Network. So we have another football network, another fantasy network here to talk to tonight. A rookie coming into this year's Fantasy Football Expo, and it is one Troy Lofton from BayouBengal's Fantasy Network. So, Troy, thanks for being a part of this. How are you doing? Tell people like where you're at, where you living, where that kind of stuff, what you're up to, and then we'll kind of start talking about you from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I want to say first off, thank you, Bob, for having me on the show. Looking forward to getting through a lot of information and get to meet a lot of people eventually. But I'm actually from Louisiana originally. That's where the Bayou Bengal comes from, for the Bayou Bengal Tigers, which is the LSU Tigers. So that's kind of the background on the Bayou Bengal part. But now I live in Birmingham, Alabama. I actually run my own clinic here as a doctor. So I do a lot of different things here now since getting away from the military. And now I'm here and just having some fun. I like to do fantasy football on the side. I like to talk about a lot of fantasy football and just kind of help people along the way, because I think I've got a lot of experience in that realm, and I just want to kind of share all my knowledge. But yeah, I'm definitely in Birmingham, and like you said, it's my very first year, and I'm excited to do it for sure.
Awesome. Well, so I guess you answered one question that I was going to ask. I assumed you were a Cincinnati Bengal fan living in Louisiana, but I was wrong. It's the fact that the LSU Tigers, which makes total sense. Yeah. But, since it's a fantasy football, I thought, well, maybe it's a Cincinnati Bengal slash, But Absolutely. We know now it's all about the Bengal as in Tigers of LSU, not necessarily Cincinnati, but all good, none the same. All right, well, so Troy, tell us about the start of the fantasy football world that, who got you in? Where did you get started? Did somebody pull you into a league? Was your dad playing? Tell us about your start of your fantasy football journey.
Yeah, so the main started really in the military, right? So I had a lot of friends of mine that we liked football. We always talked about football, but I was deployed multiple times. So we never really had time to get involved in anything. And I first got started in 2006, I believe it was, when somebody was like, hey, why don't you just create a fantasy football league? So funny enough, I actually created one in 2006, and the league's still going on to this day. And most of the people that was back in 2006 is still in it. But what a lot of people may not know is way back then, we didn't do anything online. So it was all about pen and paper, putting all these things down. We drafted on paper. Every week, somebody would give me the lineups or whatever their lineup was. I'd put it all on the paper. I'd print it out for all 12 teams and give out 12, teams to every single body. So everybody knew what the lineups were. But we were always going back and forth, whether we're in the States or going to Iraq. So we didn't always have internet, accessible at all given times. So I remember giving up some of my time to try to go to the internet cafe to pull all the stats, and I would have to calculate all the stats out. It was just a remarkable time, but it ended up being until, a couple years of doing that before we actually moved it to online. But it was really all originally military friends, and we were kind of bored of just always talking about it. So we just created a league, and boom, there we go. Now we create a league, and most of us, again, are still in it to this day. So that's how I got into it. It's all about military.
That's awesome. Well, on behalf of every American who's listening, thank you for your service, and to all your friends, thank you for their service.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I did it old school back in when I started my fantasy league, but it was 1985. We didn't have the internet, so I didn't have a choice. You had a choice, but you didn't have the ability because of where you were located.
Right.
I totally understand. But yeah, so I feel the pain from doing it manually, and the fact that you had to do it manual in a time when you shouldn't have to do it manually. But your situation, of course, arose that you had to do what you had to do. Yeah. So talk about now. You've started that fantasy back in those days. You've been playing for years, and all of a sudden you decide, hey, I think it's time for me to create a podcast series. Talk about creating that. When did you first create it? When did you start doing this? Talk about how often you are on, where they can, people can find you, whether it's YouTube or whatever. Just talk a lot about the BayouBengal Fantasy Network.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it probably was around 2 years ago when I really started getting serious about it. I've played fantasy football for, since 2006. There's been years I've played it, and I feel like I've won quite a few championships on my own. So I was like, there's a lot of things that I think of that's really outside of the box. I really don't try to do what, everybody comes out with their own rankings. And a lot of times it's whoever finishes first is who's on the first on the rankings. But I try to kind of think about different things, offensive line changes, offensive coordinator changes, head coach changes. There's a lot of things I change about to where I create my own rankings pretty much based on what my own thoughts are. And, I hit a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them I don't hit on, but that's
not all perfect. No, nobody's perfect.
Yeah, 100%, right. So I started wanting to put my ideas out there to other people that I could possibly help. So especially people who are just fresh into fantasy football. I'm solely on YouTube. I really don't do anything else besides YouTube right now. I'm putting all my eggs almost into one basket. I post a little bit on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, but most of my stuff is found on YouTube, where I can go over anything, whether it's dynasty football, redraft football. It doesn't really matter. I'm going over rankings. I'm going over free agency news, any type of news, the NFL draft. I pretty much cover almost anything. I'm trying to post anywhere between 2 to 3 times a week. Here recently, I've almost been posting every single day some type of video to help people better prepare themselves for not only the NFL draft, but their fantasy football drafts, because my ultimate goal is for everybody who ends up joining the Bayou Bengal Fantasy Network and becoming, a part of the families. I want everybody to win championships. And I know in the fantasy football world, there's a lot of competition in the fantasy football world, but at the end of the day, everybody has different ideas. I think if we all put our ideas together, we can make anything possible. So that's kind of what I wanted to build around with a Bayou Bengal Fantasy Network, is that a network of people that can come together. And I have people on my shows sometimes. I like to get their thoughts and their ideas, and I like to be able to put that out to a lot of people. And we're starting to grow a lot now. My views are starting to get up there a little bit. I'm starting to get a little bit of traction. And that's why I decided to ultimately come over to the expo. Again, I just want to give a shout out to the Fourth and Flex podcast. They were newbies. Last year was Bandy and Trey. I kind of met them, and they taught me about the Fantasy Football Expo. So now that I'm starting to build up some traction on YouTube, I'm really wanting to set myself apart from a lot of the other people that are there. I thought, what better way to go meet more people, not only creators, but fans as well, to just really open up and just kind of, broaden my horizon on things and ideas that I can help share with the world. So most of my channel is really talking about redraft leagues or dynasty leagues. I haven't really dipped too much in like IDP leagues. I know there's a lot of states. I know the IDP guys and all those, they always handle that for. I'll let them do all that.
Yep. I'd say let the best do the best.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let them do that. I don't really play in that, so I don't pretend like I know anything like that. I play in one dynasty league and one redraft league. And I just focus on those 2 leagues. I'm not one to go in there for 15, 20 different leagues. I know a lot of people do that. I really don't. I just kind of focus on my 2 leagues, and then I focus on giving out information to anybody who would be open to either, like I said, brand new to fantasy football, or just giving a different perspective on what all these mainstream people like on ESPN or NFL.com or Yahoo. I want to give a different approach to fantasy football and just give out some different ideas. They may not always be popular, but you never know. I mean, like I said, just a couple of years ago, I was talking about Jalen Hurts being amazing. Everybody's like, no, he's going to be trash. This is one of the few things that I was kind of, I'm not afraid to step out of the box. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I like to go out there and give my own analysis, look at my own film, and just kind of create my own thing and my own way of doing things. And I'm hoping people can get to know me on my own channel and see what I'm about and see the information I'm giving them. I'm just hoping I can help other people. But that's pretty much my entire channel in a nutshell.
So if they search on YouTube, so they just search on Bayou Bengal and
Yep, it's youtube.com/@BayouBengalFN, or they can just search Bayou Bengal Fantasy Network and I should pop up.
On
sure.
YouTube. Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. I think it's great. As somebody who, started with my own consistency model 20 some years ago.
Yeah.
Didn't know if anybody would believe in it other than me. And, 20 years later, I've, put out my consistency guide, and it's been very well respected. So, it takes some time. You certainly very few people become really big overnight. It's a competitive industry, but we all love to help each other out. And that's what the Expo's always been about, is helping folks like you who knew the industry. Maybe you've been doing this for, a couple of years, whatever. And you can come here and meet all kinds of new people, and they can help promote you. You help promote them, and everybody wins. And that's a great attitude and great way to look at it. So you're coming this year. You got a booth. You're excited. Do some podcast live there, I suppose. Anything you got plans special you want to talk about that's going to happen at your booth?
Yeah, like I said, my main focus is to go there and just really just meet a lot of like-minded individuals who like fantasy football. But I will be giving some giveaways. I'll probably doing some maybe some NFL mini helmets of people of the team of your choice. I'll probably be giving away multiple of those. I might be doing some other things. I'm not really sure exactly. I've got things pinpointed, but I will be giving away some things for free. And I think at the most point, I want to just be talking to people, get to know a lot of people. Like I said, network with other people and just like-minded people is what I want to do. And then whatever I can give away for free, that's what I want to do. So that's mostly what I want to do. I'll probably get there. I'm thinking about bringing maybe like a camera setup, like you said, maybe even do like a little live, because I'm looking on YouTube and stuff. There's only a couple of things out there as far as live stream goes from people that are going. So I would like to get more publicity out there so people can get to know about what the expo is really about. Yeah, cool. Maybe we can even get some more people over there and excited if they can actually see what the event's actually about. So if I can do my best or my part to sharing all of that, especially with someone coming for the very first time, so I can, show my experience. How is it going to be for you coming for the very first time? And if I can give that to other people and let them see that, I would love to be able to do that. So I'm looking forward to hopefully having, a camera and things like that, and really kind of videotaping the entire experience from the very first day to the very last day.
That would be awesome. I think a lot of people would love that and would follow you on Twitter if you did that.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So
that would be really cool. No, good stuff. Yeah, I love that idea for sure. No, I appreciate you coming on. Do you have any questions for me as a first timer? Things you maybe don't know, want to know? I
mean, I think probably the biggest question that I'm seeing going around a lot on either Twitter or X, there's a lot of questions of saying that the Fantasy Football Expo is all for content creators. And I've seen a lot of people out there saying that, no, there's actually fans there. So I actually wanted to ask you, is there a lot of fans that go that aren't content creators that actually goes out there and experiences the expo? And is the expo a good place for just regular fans to go to?
It absolutely is. And, when we first started this, I didn't actually create it to be more content creators, but that's who I got to come because I knew these people on Twitter, right? I'd say we're at about 60% content creators, 40% real fans. But my other comment is always that we're all fans of everybody else. Like, I'm a fan of Football Guys. I subscribe to them. People are fans of my consistency guide and buy that, even though they write for a different site. So we're all fans of each other. From a pure fan perspective, like I said, I think it's about 60-40 at this point, but it's shrunk. It used to be like 70-30 and now we're 60-40. And I think we're just going to keep getting there, because what happens is these real fans come, they have a great time. They really enjoy themselves, and they go back and bring more friends the next time. So that's the kind of growth that I like, because now they're coming because somebody told them, like, you got to go to this. This is really cool. We had a playtime and I learned so much. And so, that's where we're heading. But like you said, in the end, we're all fans of each other.
And I know you had Des Bryant there last year, and I don't remember whose podcast this was on, but I heard you talking about Matthew Berry, right? And getting that guy over there. Man, we need to work on that guy, because Matthew Berry would be, he is known for fantasy football, right? If he could just take some time out. Matthew Berry, if you're watching this episode, come to the expo. Please get in touch with Bob Lung. I'm telling you, it'll help everybody.
So I will say, so I'll answer that question for you before Matthew responds. Because of Hall of Fame weekend being in my hometown, I've met Matthew a couple times over the last couple of years when he comes in to do the game on NBC Sports. And I spoke to Matthew last year about it, and he said, Bob, look, he goes, I would love to be there. He said, but the problem is that we go next weekend to another town with another exhibition game that I have to be on. And he said, if it wasn't, he goes, I just physically can't do that. So he goes, I'm here this weekend, and then the next weekend I'm who knows where and what state and what town doing whatever exhibition games on NBC Sports that night. But he sends a lot of his people from Fantasy Life. He's a huge supporter of it. The organization's a supporter of it. Maybe someday if he retires of not being a superstar on TV, but
sure.
I think that's going to take a while. So he's
Mhm.
he's kind of a big deal. But
Absolutely.
like I said, on his behalf, he would love to be there and
Yeah,
just can't.
it's understandable. Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, yeah. So yes, I would love Matthew to be there. He would love to be there, but it just doesn't work out for him, and that's there's nothing we can do about it. But
You're right.
everybody else is there. I mean, from Jeff Mans, Howard Bender, Marcus Grant,
Yeah.
Andy Behrens, Dave Richards, Bob Harris. Gosh, I could go on and on. JJ Zacharias and Scott. I mean, there's everybody but Matthew, and I know Matthew would love to be there, but yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah,
at least for a while. But yeah.
All right, well, that sounds good.
Yeah, no, and whether or not we'll have another former player come, I don't know. Des had a product last year that he was promoting.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciated him coming in. He had a great time, but things happen, and we'll probably won't see him back. But that's
Oh yeah,
but
it's all good.
we enjoyed the time. So. Anything else? Any other questions? If not, tell everybody where they can if they can find you, and then I'll just kind of play the outro from there. Thanks again for being on, Troy.
Yeah. Oh no, I really appreciate you even having me on the show. I look forward to meeting everybody that's out there, a part of the fantasy football world. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter or X, it's just at BayouBengalFN. And like I said, I'm solely on YouTube, so you can look me up at youtube.com/@BayouBengalFN. I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you guys, and I'm hoping to make a lot of friends through the fantasy football world. And again, thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. Yeah. So Troy Lofton from Bayou Bengal. I'm Bob Lung with Fantasy Football Expo. Get your tickets. Price goes up $10 April 1st. Make sure you get those before then. Of course, lock in your spot at the DoubleTree Hotel if you haven't done that. But you got to get your tickets to get it. So make sure you do that at thefantasyfootballexpo.com. And of course, you can follow the Expo on Twitter at the FF Expo, and follow me, as you can see there, at Bob_Lung. Troy Lofton, I'm Bob Lung. Everybody take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.